He didn't just beat the clock, he bent 8 seconds to his will. And this cowboy hunted the rankest bulls in the pen just to shut the crowd up. These are the 10 greatest bull riders in PBR history. Number 10, Jim Sharp. Before the PBR had a logo or a TV package, Jim Sharp set the standard for what perfect looks like on a bull. People called him Razor for a reason. Everything about his riding was clean, precise, and in control. In the late 80s and early 90s, he did the thing everyone talks about and almost nobody does. He made the whistle over and over, including riding all 10 at the NFR. He won 2 PRCA world titles and 3 NFR averages. And in that 6-year run from 1986 to 1992, nobody in bull riding history heard the buzzer in their favor more times than Sharp. Riders who watched him up close will tell you the same story. He made ranked bulls look manageable. Then you'd draw the same bull a month later and learn what the animal really felt like. He was so smooth it even messed with the scoring sometimes because he never looked in danger. There's a ride on Promised Land in Fort Worth that people still bring up, Poetry on Dirt. What made it special wasn't a wild recovery or a scrape with the horn. It was how calm he stayed when everything under him was trying to throw him out of the building. Number 9, Mike Lee. Some riders build their legend on a short, blazing peak. Mike Lee did it by showing up year after year and turning opportunity into qualified rides until the numbers forced everyone to respect it. Quiet, polite, all business. He didn't sell himself, the board sold him. On the Premier Series alone, he logged 525 qualified rides, stacking 14 event wins and 36 round wins on the biggest stage. His high mark, 93.75 in Las Vegas, still jumps off the page. And he owns a unique piece of history, the first man to win the PBR World Finals event and the World Championship in the same year. You don't luck into that kind of week. That's composure under lights most people never stand beneath. Lee took more outs across all levels than almost anyone, which explains why his ride percentage sits a notch lower than some. The man simply got on a mountain of bulls. Longevity has a cost, but it also tells you what matters. He loved the job. He stayed active deep into the 2020s, still knocking down rides while younger guys were learning the ropes. Number 8, Jess Lockwood. The first time Jess Lockwood walked into the room, he did not knock, he kicked the door open. Rookie of the Year in 2016, the youngest PBR World Champion in history in 2017, and then, for anyone who thought the first was a lightning strike, a second world title in 2019 with a World Finals event win to match. He rides with snap and timing, stacking 90-point rides like a guy who understands that the judges need a moment to remember. His short go numbers pop because his form pops. Compact, fast, and dialed. Then the sport did what the sport does. It tried to take it all away. The injury list got long enough that most athletes would have handed in a rope and a thank you. Lockwood chose rehab and patience and showed up again, now suiting up in teams while rebuilding the foundation that made him a double champ. What stands out isn't only the trophies, it's the gear between his ears. He talks about confidence like a muscle you have to train, and you can see it each time he nods after a layoff. No theater, just belief. People speculate about how many buckles he'd have without the detours. That's not how careers work. If his body gives him a clean runway, the story's not finished. Even if it never adds another title, the point is already made. He belongs in the 10. Number 7, Tough Hedeman. If you asked 1,000 riders to define bull rider, they could just point at Tough Hedeman and save their breath. He wasn't built like a gymnast. He walked a little pigeon-toed and looked more ranch than track star. None of it mattered once the gate swung. Tough's toughness wasn't branding, it was a lived fact. He stacked championships in PRCA and PBR, and there was a stretch where he stood at the top of both at the same time. The most dangerous man you could face on a Sunday and again on a Wednesday. He had a simple code: don't tell him something can't be done unless you want to watch him do it. The bodacious hit is the clip everyone recalls. The sound of a baseball bat on a watermelon and a face busted by one of the rankest ever. Here's the part that's easy to miss. It didn't knock him out. He got up. He kept coming. That wreck tells you more about Hedeman than a highlight score ever could. He wasn't the cleanest stylist. He didn't care which way a bull spun. He cared about staying in the middle until the horn. And when people tried to measure greatest, he lived in that conversation because he could ride anything, anywhere, and he made a habit of willing himself back into rides where other men let go. Founding PBR wasn't a press release for him. It was a belief that bull riding deserved its own stage. He helped build it, then owned it. Numero 6, Guilherme Marchi. Some riders are fireworks. Guilherme Marchi is a floodlight. Year after year, he lit the board with qualified rides until the record book had to make room. On the Premier Series, he piled up more made rides than anyone, well past 600, an astonishing level of output in an era when the bulls got stronger and the schedule got tougher. What you remember watching him isn't chaos, it's rhythm. He matched jump for jump with an easy balance that made hard bulls look straightforward without ever slipping into lazy form. Fans loved him because the energy went both ways. He carried himself like a pro, smiled big, and gave the sport a face people wanted to root for. The numbers back it up: dozens of event wins, deep short go conversions, and a resume that keeps his name in any serious consistency conversation. There's also the part that doesn't show up in columns, the ambassador piece. He made time for people, even when he was in the middle of a race. He leaned into media, grew the audience, and later stepped behind the chutes as an assistant coach to help sharpen the next wave. You can measure greatness in gold buckles, or you can measure it in the way a career lifts the whole room. Marchi does both. He didn't need theatrics to prove anything. Number 5. Chris Shivers. If you say 90 points, most fans see one name. Chris Shivers turned the top end of the scale into a familiar address. He's the all-time leader in 90-point rides at the Premier level, and he built that mark with a style that was all snap, sting, and show. Small frame, quiet face, fearless choices. He had a free arm that looked wild until you realized every flick bought him more daylight from a bull that wanted him buried. He could take an 85-point bull and squeeze 90 out of him by making the animal look ranker than it was. Controlled chaos that made judges sit up and the building lean forward. Dillinger was the kind people drew and exhaled through their teeth. Shivers made him look rideable, and then he went out and rode him. 2 world titles anchor the case. But there's more. The $1 Million Champions bonus that signaled a new era for what this sport could pay. The round wins when it mattered, and the truth that if he nodded, you were about to see fireworks or a wreck you'd talk about for years. Number 4, Adriano Moraes. Every movement needs a first. For modern bull riding, Adriano Moraes is that door opener, the pioneer who left home, learned a new country on the fly, and rode like the language barrier didn't exist. He arrived with a build built for this. Strong, flexible, balanced, and with a rope setup the old hands squinted at. People whispered he was pulling it backwards, then watched him slide up, nod, and make 8 seconds look like a casual lap. But that Brazilian rope nickname stuck because the results did. He was the inaugural PBR World Champion in 1994, the first to 2 and the first to 3, capping the last at age 36 to become the oldest PBR World Champ ever. That alone plants a flag, but his shadow runs farther. He mentored the next wave from Brazil, helped launch PBR Brazil, and turned a North American circuit into a global sport without a lecture or a billboard, just by helping riders figure out travel, culture, and the step up in bull power. Ask current stars who they text when the mechanics feel off. His name comes up fast. Number 3, Justin McBride. Some guys pull the rope tight to make up for doubt. Justin McBride pulled his loose because balance and timing did the work. He rode like the sport looks in your head. Clean hips, centered shoulders, nothing wasted. 2 world titles give him his buckle count, but the moments tell the story. Las Vegas, 2005. Camo blasts, McBride gets hung out, and he wills himself through a ride that looked upside down to everyone but him. He didn't need style points, he needed the whistle, and he took it. He stacked 74 90-point rides on the Premier Series, 4th all time, then added 32 event wins and a pile of round wins that kept pressure on every leaderboard he touched. There's the $200,000 single ride on Scene of the Crash, 8 seconds that still echo when people talk about payday moments. After the dust settled, he traded the back of the bull for a guitar and a mic, put out records, played the Opry, and later stepped into a coach's cap with the Nashville Stampede, guiding a new generation with the same simple, ruthless approach. Today matters most. The part that sticks with his peers isn't just the stats, it's the mindset, and he wanted the rank ones, the bulls that made other guys glance down at their boots. He believed winning was a choice you kept making mid-ride. And when he knew he didn't need another 8 seconds to prove anything, he walked away at the top, a rare exit on his own terms. That's how winners write their last line. Number 2, JB Mountie. Bad to the Bone wasn't just his song, it was a mission statement. JB Mountie treated the draft like a dare. If there was a bull the room called unridden, he wanted first crack, not because it was smart for points, but because the crowd and the craft demanded it. Rookie of the Year in 2006. 2 PBR World Finals event titles in 2009 and 2013. 2 World Championships in 2013 and 2015. Second all-time on the Premier Series for qualified rides with 538, third for 90-point rides with 75, and second in all-time money north of $7 million. Those are numbers you can hang a career on. But with Monty, the numbers are the floor, not the ceiling. He made arenas hum before the rope was tight. He was hurt often enough to call it an occupation hazard and showed up anyway, because the rule for him was simple. If he hauled in, he hauled to win, and he wasn't trying to finesse the season, he was trying to beat the bull in front of him. Culture noticed. Ask people who don't follow the standings to name a bull rider, odds are they say JB. He grew up idolizing Lane Frost, then became the Yardstick Kids pin above their beds. A broken neck finally forced the end of the chapter, but he refused to let the story close. Bucktown, his own arena, a head coach's seat with the Oklahoma Wildcatters. The same stubborn appetite redirected into teaching. Greatness can be measured by hardware. With Mane, you measure it by impact. Finally, at number 1, Jose Vitor Leme. Here's the guy the room is still chasing. Jose Vitor Leme landed in the United States, hit the Velocity Tour, rolled straight into his first PBR World Finals, and won the whole thing with Rookie of the Year in the same breath. Then he started breaking dials. Back-to-back World Championships in 2020 and 2021. A ride with Whoopah for 98.75 points, the highest score in PBR history, perfect 50 rider marks, and a benchmark that may stand for a very long time. He's a precision instrument with the speed of a winger in open grass, fast feet from a childhood of soccer, hips that recenter in a blink, weight transfer so quick he can repair small mistakes before anyone notices. That's why any given draw can turn into a 90. He makes bulls look rank because he rides with flash that earns every quarter point. On paper, the line keeps climbing. The most career earnings in PBR history, a chase up the all-time 90-point list where only Chris Shiver sits ahead, and a short go conversion rate that feels unfair. Coaches call him the ultimate competitor. Rivals call him the standard. If health stays friendly, he has the runway to rewrite more lines that felt untouchable 5 years ago. And even if he never adds another record, the case is already made. The tape says the same thing the stats do. We are watching an era, not a moment. When bull riding gets it right, it isn't luck. It's timing, grit, and a mind that refuses to blink 8 seconds at a time. If this hit home, subscribe for more straight from the dirt stories and tell me which rider is your number 1. See you in the next one.